This is Civil Rights Journey, and today we will be discussing the Greensboro Sit Ins, a particular show of resistance from a group of young people that had a vast impact. To view one of these very campaigns, we must travel back to the year 1960 in Greensboro, North Carolina, where Jim Crow laws were in widespread effect. With movements like the Brown v. Board, there was successful desegregation of education in the South, but separate but equal was still in place for the vast majority of businesses. It all began with 4 college students, Ezell Blair, Franklin McCain, David Richmond, and Joseph McNeil, who attended a nearby college. They decided to take action in demanding desegregation of lunch counters. They are from the Agricultural and Technical College of North Carolina, one of the historically black colleges that primarily served the African American communities for higher education. They played a huge role in black students and their fight for rights. On February 1st, the 4 men sat at the lunch counter of Woolworth's department store, under the whites only sign. They were not served, and the store's owner tried and failed to persuade them to leave. The students left quietly when the store closed an hour later. The next day, 16 more students sat with them at the lunch counter. In less than a week, over 300 people were participating in the sit-ins. After writing letters to the president of Woolworth's, as well as continuing in the sit-ins, they gained the support of the NAACP and the Congress of Racial Equality. Soon, the nation's eye was turned towards them, and sit-ins began popping up around the South.
We knew that probably the most powerful and potent weapon that people have literally no defense for is love, kindness. That is, whip the enemy with something that he doesn't understand. So we were just sitting at the counter in Woolsworth. The police didn't know what to do. We had provoked him enough, but not enough for him to attack us. He was defenseless. And that was the best part. He knew it, and he couldn't do a thing about it. Man, he hated it. You could see it all over his face.
Fortunately, this campaign came with very little violence. There were white pro-segregationists who would only give up their counter seats to other white patrons, or try to intimidate those participating in the sit-in. However, no one was seriously hurt.
There was hundreds of them. What else could I do but follow the law? I was mostly scared something was going to happen to me or my store. Police weren't doing nothing but just sitting there all day. Some of them would stand outside just picketing. I just don't understand what is not clear about we serve only whites. I tried to hold down on my rights, but I had to make a living somehow. It became impossible to fight when my money was on the line. I didn't really have a choice, so when they came in, I just had to serve them.
Woolworth struggled against integration. Under the pressure of the sit-ins, a committee was created in late February of 1960, but that April they reported that their efforts had failed, and no negotiation could take place. Woolworth's even shut down lunch counters entirely for several weeks, but this just led to people picketing around the store. Finally, without any fanfare, 3 black students were served in the Woolworth's lunch counter, and integration was achieved. In the end, goals were met and the organization survived and grew, but on a larger scale. Though Greensboro would not fully integrate until several years later, the students' success with the sit-in campaign would inspire continued participation in the civil rights movement among individual students. Even in the North, there were protests against lunch counter discrimination. This campaign led to a huge spark in sit-ins and a wave of youth leadership in civil rights. Many stores and towns in the South integrated without even a struggle because of national interest in Greensboro.
I probably felt better on that one day than I ever felt in my life. Not Franklin McCain, only as an individual, but I felt as though the manhood of a number of other black persons had been restored and had gotten some respect from just that one day. The counters in Woolsworth.
I mostly, but when they came in, no. Wait, really?